Chelsie's recap of week 12 in my competition prep series. So this week we started the week at the low 61s. So weight is slowly trending down. This week we did actually see not only the 60s, but we saw the 59s very briefly, like 59.9 on the dot, but it was there. And scale weight sort of fluctuated a little bit. So through the week, it was going down. I was having like 500 gram drops a day at the start of the week. By the end of the week, we'd sort of chilled out. I think by the end of the week, I was sitting back at bang where I started, 61.1. But there are some reasons for that. So I went to Tassie this week. So Friday, I flew out in the morning, flew into Lonnie, and then drove down to Hobart with Patria. She picked me up from the airport, and then we went down to Hobart to see Chelsea, and we had a girls' weekend. Now, just for some reference, us three were like besties back in the day when we all worked together. We were on the same shift for a period of time, and we used to have like a yearly annual catch-up, because when I left their station, we all left and we're at different stations. We used to make sure that we caught up every year. And last year we technically didn't. We caught up at Christmas time, like at the end of 2024. But it's just hard when everyone lives everywhere else. Like we all live I live in a different state, and then they're in different parts of the state as well. So long story short, we planned to have a girls' weekend, and that is what I did that weekend. So I flew in, we spent Friday night, Saturday night, and then majority of Sunday all together, and then I flew back to Brisbane, Sunday arvo, got home and straight back into the swing of things. So what that meant I needed to get all of my training, all my cardio, everything organised before I left, because I didn't want to have to go to the gym while I was down there. I wanted to be present. So that meant that my 3 cardio sessions and my 5 training sessions were all done by Friday morning. So I went to the gym early Friday before I went to the airport and got everything ticked off. And thank God Chelsea has a step pad at her house, so that I could tick off my 15,000 steps each day. What that looked like was me setting that up in the lounge room while we all were yapping, and just being on that for 1 to 2 hours to get my steps in. But, we got it done. So, that week was actually like the first progressive week where we saw like the lows, like the 60s, and like consistently sitting in the 60s, and even entered the 59.9. Only for one day, and that was the day before I left to go to Tassie. Then when I was down there, I was weighing like 60 and a half. And then on Sunday when I got back, I was 61.1 again. But then very quickly had a drop back down into the mid 60s. So my weight is being a bit stubborn this time around, but the visual progression that comes along each week is really clear. So I'm not at all worried, which is great. So that was the week in a nutshell. In terms of food, my calories have been the same since, they were dropped last. The week I got cardio added was the same week my food got changed, and since then it has been really good. So that hasn't changed at all. In terms of how I navigated going down to Tas, being away from home, etc., I took, I think, 4 or 5 different servings of protein powder with me. So I had the same protein powder. I'm not joking that as soon as we got to Hobart, before we even got to Chelsea's house, I went to the supermarket and got all the basics that I needed, i.e. oats, peanut butter, berries, chicken breast, microwave rice, salad, my pizza bases that I have, and I was able to still have, make it work within my calories. So the Friday night we had homemade pizzas, which are like my go-to, because I load them the F up with veg. And then the Saturday night we had homemade burgers, and that is probably what messed up my digestion, because on the Saturday we got up, I had breakfast as normal, and then we went out. I don't even know where we went. I went to a shopping centre, and then we ended up in Salamanca, and those two had lunch, and I'm just not willing to eat out. Like, in terms of what was at that pub, there was nothing that I could have had that I could accurately be confident in tracking. So I just got a long black, which meant that when we got home at like 3 o'clock, I had only had 1 meal. So I had to sort of play catch up, and I did have some more calorie dense things to catch up, but it didn't help the fact that my water intake hadn't been great. I was away from home. My meals weren't spaced out properly, and so that's probably why we did see a bit of a weight fluctuation the next day. So that was what it was, but it all settled back down after I'd got back home anyway. So yeah, that was how I navigated nutrition, being organised, having my scales, doing those little things, but I didn't care. Like, I don't even notice it, like, whatsoever. So I just waited until we got home, had my food when we were at her house, and then we had homemade burgers on the Saturday night, which slapped. And then I just had my food before I left her place, and then made myself up like an overnight wheat bix to have on the plane, so that when I got home I could come home, just have dinner as normal. And it was good. It was like I didn't even go. Like, it was so quick, but it was good to just go down there, just literally spend 48 hours together and just catch up and yap. Like, the whole time we didn't do anything. We just hung out, caught up and yapped. Like, we can talk, us three. So it was fun. Like, usually we used to all get together and get on the piss and go and be menaces, but we're all grown-ups now. Like, gosh, Chelsea's got a baby, and yeah, we're just not that young anymore. So that was that week. So it was a good week. I was definitely pretty wrecked and tired and sore by the time I got to Friday. Naturally, in the best case scenario, I wouldn't do my sessions back to back to back like all week, but I didn't really have a choice. And I then spaced them out as normal the following week. So yeah, we had a really good breakthrough that week, and I'm just going to have a double check through my camera roll if I forgot about anything. I don't think I did. Yeah, business was as usual, but that's pretty well the update. Week 12, what the hell? That's 3 months into prep already. I can't even. It is what it is. But that was my week. I'm not going to drag this out for the sake of it. Yeah. I post these weekly. Sometimes they're a little bit behind, if you can't tell. But, I do my best. I'm just trying to keep a record of this prep best I can and just be really real raw and just talk about the things that we go through. We love it. Yeah, talk to you soon. Love you so much. Catch you, Queenie.